Oh, we're recorded. Wow. Sorry. Okay, Makkos. Which page are we in Makkos? We're in Amud Yomi. Welcome everybody to Amud Yomi. Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. Is that so? Yeah, Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. I never see the top of the page. So we're learning today Leilu Nishmas Aaron Kohen. Today is the Otzat of Aaron Kohen. Rosh Chodesh Av. Mematin besimcha means you have to be besimcha, but mematin, a bit less than usual. And we are learning this year's L'Refuas, Penina, Chaya, Bas, Geula, Rochel. Chana Batsima has a surgery today. Please, Yosef's wife. So please daven for Chana Batsima. Esther Fruma Bas Shoshana Malka. Besoich Shah Choy Le Yisrael. Chana Batsima. Yeah, the surgery is today. And we are learning L'Nishma Sovi Meir Menachem Ben Akiva. And we are learning about murderers. Woo! Says the Mishnah. Zog the Heilige Mishnah. We all know, as it says in the Torah, that a Rotzech B'Shoigeg gets out of Ir Miklat when the Kohen Gadol dies, foolish in the Torah, more than once. Once the Kohen Gadol dies, then it gets out of Ir Miklat, and the Goel Adam cannot do anything. Yeah. Okay. Somebody has to die in order for him to go free. Says the Mishnah, what type of Kohen Gadol we're talking about? What do you mean? Look at the Mishnah. Echad mashuach b'shem anamishcha, ve'echad amerube bebgodim, ve'echad shover memshichusoi mechzirin es harotzeach. Which means, as we learned in Horius, Kohen Gadol, ideally, Kohen Gadol has at least two things that are distinctive to him, which make him different to other Kohanim. I mean, the way he is, the way he looks. When Kohen Gadol becomes Kohen Gadol, they actually anoint him physically. Yeah, there's Shem and a Mishcha. On the day when he's anointed, they do it on the head, not like a crown, like a king, but like between the eyes or an X, different opinions. Some between the eyes and the forehead, L-shaped, X-shaped. But there is some kind of anointing on his forehead, for the Kohen Gadol. Kohen Hedyot does not get anointed. Maybe gets annoyed, not anointed. Yeah, but the Kohen Hedyot only in the times of the Mishkan is very confusing. Yeah, Elazar in the summer they were anointed, they were nimshach because then all Kohen were anointed. But for generations to come, from then till the entire time, the whole history of Beis Hamikdash, it was only Kohen Gadol who'd get Shem and Mishcha. A Kohen Hedyot would not. When a Kohen becomes a Kohen Hedyot, he starts his work. He does not get the Meshicha, Meshicha with a ches, limshoach, not limshoch, limshoach, to anoint, to smear. That's only Kohen Gadol. What's the other thing? Every child knows the difference. What's the other thing? Godim. The Kohen Gadol wears all the fancy clothes, the tzitz, the choishen, the meal. The other Kohanim only wear 4. He wears 8. So that's a Kohen Gadol. Now, however, in the times of Beis Hamikdash, at the end of Beis Hamikdash Harishon, at the very end of Beis Hamikdash Harishon, at the end of those times, Yoshiyahu Melech, the one we spoke about recently, was trying to get things moving, but no. Yoshiyahu Melech, he was goinez, he hid some holy items when he knew that the Bavlim are coming. One of them was Shem and Mishcha. The Shem and Mishcha was Nignaz, went into Gniza at the end of Bais Rishon. And therefore, when Bais Sheni came, then the Kohanim Gedolim did not have the privilege of having Shem and Mishcha. Only the Begodim is what they had. There's no Oron. Many things were missing in Bais Sheni, including the Oron itself, ironically. But the Shem and Mishcha was something that was not there anymore. Comes the Mishnah, let's read again the Mishnah. Echad mashuach b'shem mishcha ve'echad merube bebgodim. Either the Kohen Gadol is the one who has both milas. He has Shem and Mishcha and merube bebgodim, i.e., a Kohen that works in the times of Bais Rishon. Ve'echad merube bebgodim, or even a Kohen of Bais Sheni who only has the extra bgodim but doesn't have the oil. Doesn't matter. Either this or that. Even the second type is also holy enough and good enough and big enough to liberate with his death the Rotzech B'Shoigeg. He's considered to be, is classified as a Kohen Gadol, legabe vis-a-vis, freeing the Rotzech B'Shoigeg. What's a third one? Ve'echad she'over mimshichusoi. That's an interesting one. A Kohen she'over mimshichusoi is a Kohen who was a temporary sub. It was a substitute for Kohen Gadol. Kohanim Gedolim, as much as they tried, they were sometimes Tomeh. Yeah, so if a Kohen Gadol is Tomeh, cannot be Kohen Gadol. You can't function in Beis Hamikdash if you're Tomeh. Shicha v'zera, sheretz, by mistake, dead, whatever, let's say. Kohen Gadol hardly left Beis Hamikdash, but let's see it happen. You get a sub, you get Mr. Vice President, Vice Kohen Gadol to step in. like America today, lahavdil, and then lahavdil for $5. So I'm sorry about that. So not a good example, I know. Echad shalom shichusay. Now that Kohen for 1 or 2 weeks was working. Now the Kohen Gadol is back at work. Oh, so that Kohen, because he was nimshach, why was he nimshach? Because he functioned as Kohen Gadol for a while. He still has certain functionality as Kohen Gadol. And there are all kinds of nafkaminas, and that's one of them. Let's say a Kohen Gadol who's an ex-Kohen Gadol. In his resume, you can read, for 2 weeks, I was Kohen Gadol, now I'm a regular guy. He still has, it's a Sugya in Yuma, in Horias. We're not going to do Sugya now, but he still has a certain status of Kohen Gadol, like Malin B'Kodesh Ven Moridin. The man of Kamina, here you are, that's enough Kamina. That if he dies, then the Rutzech B'Shoigeg goes free. He's also, now we're talking, obviously, it's not any Kohen Gadol. We're going to discuss that later, but generally speaking, the point in time that makes a difference for what's his name, for the Rotzech B'Shogeg, is a Kohen Gadol that was there when Nigmar Dinoi. In other words, let's say in Chaf Tammuz Tafshin Tzadi, yeah, then what happens? Somebody murders, and in that very day, the Kohen Gadol is Yirmiyahu Kohen. Then Yirmiyahu Kohen, if he dies, he goes free. He goes per the person, that was functioning as Kohen Gadol when the verdict was given. So if this was the one who's now Oiver, doesn't matter. Although it's not Kohen Gadol anymore, since he was Kohen Gadol for a while, if he dies, then the guy, the Chutzech B'Shogeg goes free. So these are 3 Kohanim. I mean, 2 times in history, by Solution, by Sheni, and even the one that was Kohen Gadol for a while and not the Kohen Gadol anymore, he still maintains the status, and if he dies, it makes a difference. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda argues and adds one more Kohen. Af beshoach milchomo machzir sarotzeach. Oh, going to war. What do you do when you go to war? All you Americans in English, you know the term chaplain. Well, the term chaplain was not invented in the American Army, so to burst your bubble. It's a term of where? In the Torah. We all know that, right? There's a Kohen who goes there to the border near Gaza, and he gives a motivational talk and also halachic talk to the soldiers, right? Don't be scared. First of all, he basically, he sorts out and he sends back home people who just got married, or people just the kerem, bais, they built a home, and then he gives them motivational talk. That's a Kohen Mashuach Milchoma. He's not a Kohen Gadol. But I just don't have a very nice idea. Why do we say, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that Kohen who's not a Kohen Gadol, he's the army Kohen, he's a chaplain? Why is he also kind of Kohen Gadol? Because he's Mashuach. Very nice. He shares one thing, he shares a common denominator with the Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol gets the oil on the head, which is a very choshev thing. So too, the one of the milchama, I don't think he wears the 8 begodim. I'm not sure. It's a sugi in soita. I'm not sure. I don't think so. But the Meshuach milchama, what he does, he gets the oil on the head. So there is something in common with him and the Kohen Gadol. Aha, says Rabbi Yehuda, this Kohen number 4, the one who's not a Kohen Gadol, but he is Gadol in the war, that is also special status, and if he dies, then too, the Rotzech B'Shogeg gets out of the city. Lefikach, because the death of the Kohen Gadol, right, is what triggers the Rotzech B'Shogeg to get out into freedom, and he's safe, nobody can harm him anymore. So, as much as we want certain people to die, and I mean terrorists, I mean those who hate us, we want them to die. Unfortunately, the Rotzech B'Shogeg would daven, Hashem, please take away the Kohen Gadol. Nothing against the guy, but if he dies, I go free. Lefikach, because of that, Imusein shel Kohanim mesapkos le'en michya v'ksus, the mothers of the Kohanim Gdolim, they would actually support them, provide them with livelihood and clothes, so they, the Rotzchim B'Shogeg, should not daven that their sons, the Kohanim Gdolim, would die. In other words, that was like a minhag. It doesn't say it's halacha, but that was a done thing. The mother of the Kohen Gadol, she would, please, I'll provide you. You get a nice package. You get, nice goodie stash, whatever you need, and clothes. The best fashion, money can buy, provided, your new parcel came from motherofkohengadol.com into the ear miklat. Everybody can enjoy it. Please have this, eat the sweets, eat the bread, wear the fancy clothes. Just don't daven and my son should die. That was the reciprocal relationship here, and we're going to learn some mussel from that soon. Fragt the Gemara. Gemara is asking a question. How do we know that you basically have three types of kohanim that liberate by their death the Otach b'shoigig? How do you know all three? Amar Kana, the Amar Ko, read the psukim. It says in the pasuk, "V'yoshav bo ad moise Kohen Gadol." He should sit in the city until the Kohen Gadol dies. Uksiv, and then it says in another pasuk, "Ki be'ir mikloto yeshev." You see the word miklat is in the Torah. Be'ir mikloto yeshev ad moise Kohen HaGadol. Oh, again the same information. Again, he sits there until Kohen Gadol dies. Uksiv, and again it says. Three times Kohen Gadol. I got the picture already, you know. So why does it say three times Kohen Gadol? Can I get the one that's a super duper Kohen Gadol, the ultimate Kohen Gadol? Why? He's functioning. He gets the Shem and the Mishcha and also the Begodim. There is number two, the one who basically was born too late. He was born in the times of Bais Sheni, and he only has the Begodim, no Mishcha. And there's the third one, who's not even a real Kohen Gadol. Yeah, he was a Kohen Gadol, and he's a week or two of glory. All of them, any of them who dies, they liberate him with their death. I, the Rabbi Yehuda. How does Rabbi Yehuda know that there's a fourth Kohen, the one who goes to war with them? How do you know he too makes a difference? Ksiv koachina. It says another pasuk. Lo shuv l'sheves ba'oretz ad moise Kohen Gadol. It says again. It doesn't say Gadol, excuse me. It doesn't say Gadol, my mistake. It says he should go back to live, he should go to the Miklat until the Kohen dies. He doesn't say, a Kohen Gadol. So he says, here we are. There's a Kohen who's like a Gadol. That's the one of the Mashoch Milchama, the one who goes to war. And he's also a Kohen. Ve'idach. So why does Tanakama not believe in that pasuk, la halacha? Precisely because it doesn't say Hagadol or number 4, it just says a Kohen. It doesn't mean that a Kohen non-Gadol also joins the party. No, the other way around. It's just referring back to one of the three that we referred to before, that we spoke about before. That's the idea. Very good. So now we have a machlekes when it says fourth time HaKohen without Gadol. Is it including a non-Kohen Gadol who's like half Kohen Gadol? He has Mishcha, but he's not really Gadol. He's just a war guy, the military Kohen. Or do we say no? We say no, we're just referring back to one of the three. But the regular Kohen Milchama is not the reason to be Mishtacher, to go free. Lefikach imosen shel Kohanim. Second word lan. So what did we say? That the mothers of the Kohanim, let's be medayik. Why did they bring them the food and the clothes? Why? Sheloi spalelu shemuso. They're begging the rotzech b'shoigeg, don't daven that my son should die. Right? Listen, I'm so good to you. In return, I'm asking you, don't daven that my son should die. Okay? Gemara is medayik. Time, that is to say, let's be medayik. Time deloi matzlu. Right? Deloi matzlu. That is only, in other words, if they don't daven, right? So they're not going to die. We basically place a lot of belief here. Yeah, we really believe in the davening of the rotzech b'shogeg. Now, rotzech b'shogeg is somebody who's not the nicest person because it only happened to him because of something else. Tam deloi matzlu, because they're not davening, then the Kohen Gadol can go to sleep at night safe and sound. Ha matzlu maisi. You're telling me that let's say they would daven, that the Kohen Gadol maisi, would he die? Maisi here means not to bring. Maisi means to die, like moves, met. Hamatzlu maisi, you want to tell me that if the Mr. Otzech b'shegeg would daven, then he would die, the Kohen Gadol? V'aksiv, it says in the Pasuk, ketzipar lonud kidro la'uf, ken kila laschinam loy tovoy, which means just like a bird flying. Dro is like a small bird, like a sparrow or something. It flies, fly by night, the bird flying around. Ken kila laschinam lo tovoy. The klala of chinam, a klala that comes, a curse that comes from a person who's not important, is not going to happen. Why? Don't get too overworked with what the any person tells you, like a klala, right? In other words, so he's going to daven. Who cares if he davens that the Kohen Gadol dies? If the Kohen Gadol doesn't deserve to die, he's not going to die. Because Mr. Otzech v'shogeg davens, it's going to make a difference. Answers the Gemara. Excuse me 1 second. Answers the Gemara. Okay, let's continue. Answers the Gemara. Omar Leusaba says, answer that the elderly scholar to that question. Mipirke derova shmiali. I have an answer for you, and I heard it in the Shiur, the Perek, the big Shiur for Balabatim given by Rove. Shoya lehen levakish rachamim al doren velo bikshu. Don't say that the davening of the what's his name of the Rotzech B'Shogeg is garnished like a bird flying. No, no, no. Really, there is some kind of demand. There is some kind of liability or responsibility on the Kohen Gadol, Kohanim Gdolim. Why didn't they daven for the door for the generation they should have? In other words, Kohen Gadol is one of Gdolei Hador. The greater you are, the more of the expectation from you. But Kodesh Baruch Hashem expects more of you. Kohen Gadol should have davened. Kohen Gadol is the Amud Tefillah. He should have davened that such a thing shouldn't happen. Since he did not daven or didn't daven enough, v'horaya, it did happen, flipped it, sorry. And therefore, there is a dormant taina against the Kohen Gadol in Shamayim. Why didn't you daven? And therefore, once the Rotzech B'Shogeg presses that button, he has a cause. When the Rotzech B'Shogeg davens about the Kohen Gadol, he should die. Then Hashem says, well, you know what, mister? You're kind of right. Because that Kohen Gadol, we have an open file, as we say in Hebrew, yesh lo tik. He has a file open in Shamayim, and the police over there that, why didn't daven hard enough? And therefore, the mothers of the Kohanim Gedolim knew that. They knew it's a very tricky, funny situation, very, sticky situation here. So they said, please don't daven, let our children live, although there is a time against them. I would just like to, okay, you can ask a question now, actually, for now, yes. Yaakov is saying something very nice, Yaakov Gitztin, that the reason why there could be a stronger tvia against Kohanim regarding people killing each other is because every Kohen is a descendant of Aaron HaKohen, whose Yortzeit is today. And Aaron HaKohen was, as we all know, the man of peace, of Shalom, Rod of Shalom. So you, the descendant of Aaron HaKohen, should make sure even more than other people that peace prevails in the world. Very, very nice. Shkoyach, yes?
Question. Why is it that
Weiter. Yes, one last question for now. Yes, Rabbeinu. Weiter. I don't know why the mothers are the one who did it, not the wives, or not Chvesnish, the brother. I hear. It's. I'm sure there's a lot of ashkafic ideas here about the mother dafka. The mother is Rachmanis, whatever. I don't know. I haven't seen much here. Weiter. The mother-in-law does the other way around. Weiter. The mother-in-law takes away the sweets from the. She's on his side. Weiter. Some learn the Mishnah differently. Listen, spot the differences. Ikadematni, some Meroim learned the Mishnah differently. Today she's spalilu al b'neim shaloyamusu. You heard that? Not in order. They didn't give them the nice food and drinks and clothes, so they should not daven and stay passive, but rather to be active, proactive. She's spalilu b'neim shaloyamusu. Get that? She would give him food and say, this is a mivtzat tefillah, like in Cheder. I'm giving you food and drinks and suits and ice and kapete and shtreimel in order that you should daven actively that my son shouldn't die. That's different. Time, the matzlu. But the question is still the same question. Because they daven, right, they have to actively daven that the Kohen Gadol shouldn't die. That's even worse, more dangerous. Ha'aloi matzlu maisi. That's even worse. Meaning, if everything is pariv, no davening about his life or death. It's just not in anyone's mouth whether the Kohen Gadol should die or live. Then he would automatically die. Wow. Be'etzim the Kohen Gadol is in life danger unless people actively daven that he shouldn't die. That's much stronger than before. And the question is why? My havel mebad. What do you want from his life? My havel mebad. What should the Kohen Gadol? What do you want him to do? He didn't murder. He never went to the forest in his life. He never held an axe in his life. What do you want from him? And the Gemara is now emphasizing the question with all kinds of proverbial sayings. And here we say in Bavel, Tu v'yachota v'zigud mangid. Apparently, Rashi says it's like a slang, like a line. Tu v'yachota v'zigud mangid. Once there was a man called Zigud, maybe it was German. Zigud was a man who came to Shmuel, and Zigud gave Eidus that Tuvia sinned. Now Zigud was alone. Zigud was one aid, and I think I read somewhere, I'm not sure, aid echad, garnished, Isurim. He was made, it was a Renisser. Aid echad, emat someone else's Isurim, not his own. He's not Neman. So you know what Shmuel did? Shmuel hit him. Shmuel said, "You're Baal Shana." Shmuel Paskin, yeah, that he has to get Malchus. Why? Because you are a Stam Baal Hora, right? Because you're an Eid Echod, and Eid Echod cannot come to Bezin and say that somebody was wearing shatnez or somebody was eating chazir. So now the poor man told him, "Tuvi Echot of Zigud Mangid." Tuvi is the one who sinned, and I'm the one who's chapping the the patches. I chap the lashes. Kilo unfair, and that's a Gemara's question. In other words, Rashi says, well, like a set statement, if one person does wrong and the other person gets all the flack, he gets punished. That's an expression, and that's a question. Mr. Rotzech b'shogeg killed b'shogeg, and the Kohen Gadol supposed to die. Hossam Amri in Eretz Yisrael, they had a different expression to express the same idea, and that's from Genesis. Are you familiar with this scenario of Shem? Amri Shem Nosiv Umibgoi Gozir. Shem was the one who married Dinah, not married, whatever, he raped Dinah. He had Dano, he had his fun, yeah. Umibgoi Gozir. And all the people of the town, Baga is the field. All the regular folks town, the field people, the regular people, they had to do bris milah, ligzor. They had to do the bris milah. Poor man, he's having fun in the palace, and because of him, everybody else has to do bris milah. Yeah, that's what came out. And then they killed them also, Nochdim. Yeah. In other words, one person is enjoying himself and sinning, and the other one is being punished. Why is that? Omer Usaba, it's the same answer. We know the answer from before. Omer Usaba says the old man, the Chochem, the Choshuv old man, Mi Pirke derova Shmiali. I heard the answer from the Shiur in Rov's Shiur. They should have asked Rachamim. They should have asked Hashem for mercy that nothing bad, no murder, accidental or not, should happen in their times, and they didn't ask or didn't ask hard enough. And we're going to see now a scary story to emphasize that. Kiho, just like Dahu Gavra the Achli Arya, there was a man that was eaten by a lion. Berichuk Tlosa Parsi Mined Rabbi Shua ben Levi. 3 parsois. 3 parsois is like 12 kilometers. 12 mil. Mil is more or less a kilometer. 12 kilometers away from the house of Rabbi Shua ben Levi. A person was eaten by a lion. And how did Hashem punish? You know who? Rabbi Shua ben Levi. How was Rabbi Shua ben Levi punished? Wow. For 3 days, Eliyahu Navi didn't talk to him. Didn't talk to me either, or to you, I guess, but for him, that's a punishment. For a person like Rabbi Shua ben Levi is one of these people who's half Tana, half Amoira, you know. He's an Amoira, but he's mentioned in the Mishnah. He was like one of these, like Rav. Yeah, Rabbi Shua ben Levi was a very, very choshev person. He had his, close, intimate relationship with Eliyahu Navi. Because that disaster happened close by, or not even that close by. Yeah, 12 kilometers away, the person was eaten by a lion. It's a sudden, crazy tragedy. And Eliyahu Navi said, I'm giving you silence treatment for 3 days. I'm not talking to you. Why? Must be because Rabbi Shua ben Levi really should have davened that such disaster, such catastrophe shouldn't have happened. And I guess he didn't daven hard enough. And therefore he was punished. Interesting. It's like a nidui. Like nidui belio for 3 days. Interesting, 3 days is also the amount of days if one person doesn't talk to the other as a soine. Says Rav Yehuda on behalf of Rav, if chas v'sholem a chochem, a Talmid chochem curses someone, afilu bechinam hibo, even if that klolo was conditional and the condition was not fulfilled, yeah, the chochem tells people, if you do so and so, then I curse you if so and so. I curse you if you eat pizza tomorrow, yeah? And you didn't eat pizza. Still the klala can come about. Wow. The words coming from the mouth of Talmid Chacham are very strong, very effective, even with the Tanai. Minolan, how do we know that? Achitoifel, big Talmid Chacham, but not the biggest tzaddik. Achitoifel is the one who gave bad advice to Avshalom. In many occasions, he was Avshalom's friend and gave advice against David. He was working, backbiting David. For example, he told Avshalom, to do such a nice thing, to have tashmish in front of everyone with David's 10 wives on the porch. Unbelievable, good advice. Yeah, so Achitophel, he kept giving advice to people against David. And at some point, what happened? Let's see. At the beginning, they were friends. Achitophel was an Av Beis Din, big Talmid Chochem, but he was a very corrupt person. Shebeshah shekora David shitin, when David the Melech was building, or he was digging the foundations for Beis Hamikdash. Although David did not build Beis Hamikdash, but was building the Shitin was basically like a tashtit, foundation, infrastructure. It's called tashtit, right? You know that. So now, he was digging like tunnels under Beis Hamikdash. What happens then? I don't know. Kofa tehoima. All of a sudden, the tehoim, the subterranean water, the water from underneath, started coming up. Right? And this water, whatever the spiritual message is, this water wanted to basically flood the entire world. Wow. It was a kind of unbelievable flood, from the subterranean water. Omar, so now David wasn't sure what to do. There's a reason for that. By the Rashi gives the whole story. Rashi gives us a bit of a background. You can read Rashi inside. Rashi says, B'Shem Yerushalmi, he found a piece of clay over there. Motzashem cheres. He found a piece of clay. Motzashem cheres. Shigbia koiloi. There was a piece of clay that was talking, the talking clay. Don't take me away from here, because I'm sitting here from the days of Matan Torah. In other words, since the land was shaking in the times of Matan Torah, already then the land was shaking, and I'm keeping the earth in place from the times of Matan Torah. So don't move me, because if you move me, then the earth will reshake, will start shaking again. David did not listen to that for whichever reason. David didn't go for talking clay, I guess, and he did pick it up, and lo and behold, that's what happened. All the water came out of control, and the water was basically threatening to destroy the whole world. Maybe there's correlation between Matan Torah, Binyan Beis Hamikdash, I don't know, something common denominator. But Lamaisa, now there was real serious sakona. No plumber can help us over here. And then David thought, let's do some counter remedy. Shem achaspa. David did not know what to do halachically. Am I allowed to write the name of Hashem on a piece of clay, on chaspa, and throw it in the tehoim, back to the under the subterranean water, the lake, so the water should come down and go back to its place. So he wasn't sure why, because mitzad echad, that l'chor should help. One piece of clay with the name of Hashem wins against everybody else, all the other pieces of clay. On the other hand, the water at some point is going to erase, right, to wipe out the name of Hashem. So what are we going to do? So leikadama lemidi. Nobody told him anything. There were Talmid Chachamim around. Nobody told him. Everyone, mum's the word. Now, Omar, David felt the people are hiding information from him. Whoever knows any halachic detail about that, if you know the halachic answer, and whoever doesn't tell me the answer, wow. He should suffocate. He should be strangulated with his going. He should be nechnak. Strangulate. Now, Noso Achitophel Kavachomer Ba'atzmoi. Achitophel, which was a Talmid Chacham, ironically, he made a cheshbon, a Kal V'chomer, started thinking about the sugya. Am I or am I not allowed to write the name of Hashem on a piece of clay and throw it into the water to save the world? Save the world. Omar, so Achitophel said, Umala, so Sholem ben Ish le'ishtoi, Omar Toiro, Shmi shenichta b'kedusha mocha l'mayim. If the Torah says, in order to make peace between husband and wife, what happens then? We all know. The name of Hashem, to raise the name of Hashem, yes, the Kohen writes in the Megillah, Parsha Soito, including Shem Hashem, then he basically puts it in the water, and it dissolves into the water. That's a terrible bizarre to Shem Hashem. But in order to maintain the peace between husband and wife, you do even that, right? To save the world, you have to be green, save the world. to save the world completely. L'kol sheken, all the more so. You erase the name of Hashem to keep the peace in the world, that people shouldn't just, be wiped out. Omer lei, shari. So Achitophel told David, Mutter, he was an Av Beis Din, Talmid Chacham. Yes, you can do it. Sak halacha from Achitophel, no problem. What did David do? He followed the instructions. Kosav Shem Chaspa. Yeah, he wrote the name of Hashem on the chaspa, on the piece of cheres. Shad Yatoima. He threw it into the water. Nochas v'kama duchte. Went down, went all the way down, boom, and stood by its place. Very nice. So Lamaise, Achitophel was warned. Achitophel was one of the bigger Talmidei Chachamim, so David kind of addressed him and the Choshev people. And Achitophel, well, he was scared of that klala, and therefore he did obey, right? Yeah, he complied, and he gave the psak. Va'afilu achi, even though the condition wasn't met, although in spite of that, Ksiv, it says, Va'achitophel, what happens at the end of the life of Achitophel? When Achitophel saw that David is winning and he's losing the battle, so he knew that David will now do away with him, right? He knew that David is going to kill him, and all his Yerusha, all his money left behind, all the inheritance will not go to his children, it's going to go to the Melech, because Mord B'Malchus, his money goes to the Melech, and Achitophel, for different reasons, did not want David to kill him, not covered, the money is not going to go to his children. So what did Achitophel do? Achitophel saw that his Eitzah wasn't followed, and David was beginning to win the war. He saddled his donkey. He basically went to his hometown. He gave it tzava. He committed suicide. Yeah, without even realizing that now he's fulfilling the klala of David HaMelech. David HaMelech then said, whoever doesn't listen to me, whoever doesn't give me the psak, whoever keeps quiet without giving him psak, is going to be nechnak, is going to get chenek, will choke, and that's what happened to Achitophel at the end of the day. One of the people in Tanakh who committed suicide, and therefore you see that the klala is there, even if it's for, I don't know why, but I guess the words of a chacham is very, very potent, and therefore, I guess the klala, the Talmid Chacham should be careful when he gives a klala. But if he did give it, then you have to be very, very careful. Yes, quick one. Go ahead. We don't have time. One more question. Yeah. Shkoyach, thank you very much. More on the same. Yeah. Amar Biabo. Third line from the bottom of the page. How do we know what's the source in the Torah? Because what we saw now is a medrash. How do we know from the Torah that this concept is right? That if a Talmid Chacham gives a curses someone with a condition, on condition, and the condition wasn't fulfilled, the person obeyed the Talmid Chacham. Still, the klala may come. How do you know that? Me'eli, not Eli, but Eli. Eli was a Kohen Gadol at the times of the Mishkan of Shiloh, and we know the young Shmuel was brought by Chana when he was very, very young, by the age of 3, and Shmuel basically grew up in the Mishkan, in the company of Eli and his children, Chofni and Pinchas. Nice guys, what do you say? Good guys, Chofni and Pinchas? No. They had a whole bunch of Averas, in all, they were, they ate the kochim too early, they had relations with married women, or not relations, or they only me'akiv them from the chitzer. Not nice guys. What happens next? Before we continue, Shmuel Hanavi heard once and again a voice coming. He didn't know what the voice was. Apparently, eventually, it's a voice of Hashem, and Hashem was telling him that Eli and his children are not going. Them and all the descendants are all gonna. None of them will live long, including Abai and Rava, as it says in Rosh Hashanah Yud Ches Amud Aleph. Abai and Rava came from Eli, and there was a klala on the household of Eli and the whole dynasty that they will not live up to the age of 40, and yet Rava did live to 40 and Abai to 60 because of Torah, Gmilas Chasadim. But normally, if you come from Eli, Chalila, then you live very short life. So now, and that was what Hashem told Shmuel about Eli and his children, right? Now, Eli wanted to know, ask Shmuel, what did Hashem tell you last night? What's the nayas? What's going on? What did Hashem tell you in the nevuah? And Shmuel didn't want to tell him. He felt bad. Shmuel's a young boy. Here's a boss, Eli. He felt bad telling him, Hashem told me that, you guys are out of the game. He didn't want to tell him that. So how did Eli react? Now we can see the Gemara. Baruch Hashem. Me'eli, the Komer le'eli l'Shmuel. Eli told Shmuel, Kayasa l'cho Elokim v'cho Yosef im tekached mimeni dovo. Hashem will do to you like this, like what? If you mekached, you know what's lekached in modern Hebrew too? To hold back information. If you hold back information from me, I'm giving you a curse that Hashem will do to you like this, like my situation. In other words, if you don't tell me what Hashem told you, my bad luck, Eli knew the situation. His kids were not good kids. I don't have nachas from the kinderlach. I'm giving you a curse. If you don't open your mouth and tell me what Hashem told you, you too will not see nachas from your children. You too will have kids, who need therapy. You'll need a lot of you need kids who need help. The afal gav dichti v'yagid l'Shmuel es kol advorim. It says that although Shmuel did tell him, at the end of the day, Shmuel opened his mouth. V'lo kichad mimeno, did not hold back any information. V'afilu achi, too late. Ksiv, it says v'lohol chubonov bidrochov. It says about Shmuel that his children did not follow his ways. Yeah. I don't know why this is so. I find it interesting to understand, but l'choiro, the words of the Chacham are strong, and therefore they can affect the person, even if the person basically obeyed the Talmud Chacham. I want to see more on the subject later, Be'ezras Hashem, but for now, let's continue and get to the Mishnah. Amar Yehuda Marav, if it's very quick and essential, yes, otherwise no. Is it a question? A specific short question? Very nice. Amar Yehuda Marav. Nidui al tnai tzorich haforo. Oh, here comes big news, and that's nogea la'aloche. Nidui al tnai. Let's say a person misbehaves. He is mevazet Talmid Chacham, or he just doesn't keep any of the mitzvahs openly. He openly does something wrong, bad halachically. You have to give him nidui. Nidui means what? Excommunication. It's not as bad as cherem, but people are supposed to stay away from him. I'm not going into details now. Nidui is partial excommunication. Cherem is worse. So nidui al tnai tzorich haforo, which means, let's say a person gets nidui, the Talmud Chacham tells him, if you don't throw away your shatnez suit, you're in cherem. Your nidui, at the beginning, the person wears the shatnez, and after half an hour, he throws away the suit, right? Still tzorich haforo, right? Even though the person, that's mikadin. Tosfos is not like that. I'm talking in general. Even if the person at the end of the day fulfilled, was a good boy, he still needs hafara. He still needs to go to the Talmud Chacham to break the nidui. Yeah, even though he did follow suit, he followed the right path, and whichever cause for nidui, he left his bad ways, he still needs hafara. The nidui doesn't automatically go away when you do tshuva. You're nidui because of wearing shatnez. After 5 minutes, you throw away all your shatnez clothes in the garbage. You burn them. You still need hafara. Now, Tosfos points out that la'alocha, we don't necessarily say that. First, we have to see the Makor, and then we'll see Tosfos. Minolan, how do we know that? How do we know that nidui does not automatically disappear once you prove your ways, or whatever cause that is? Yehuda. We'll learn it from Yehuda. What does Yehuda have to do with it? Dichtiv, what does Yehuda tell his father, Yaakov, when he's really trying to persuade him very strongly to send Binyamin back with them to Mitzrayim and deal with that horrible Egyptian down there? Dichtiv, im lo yosiv elecha, v'chatosi lecho kol hayamim. If I don't bring him back to you, the boy, v'yitzagtiv lefnecha v'chatosi lecho kol hayamim, I'll be considered a sinner all my life. If I don't bring Yosef to you, if I don't Binyamin, excuse me, not Yosef. If I did not bring Binyamin back to you, then I promise you, I'll be considered a choite, meaning I'll be nidui. What do you mean I'll be a sinner? What do you mean being called a sinner? What? I'll be benidui my whole life. Okay. And sure enough, he brought him very nicely. He brought Binyamin very well, right? So the choira, no klalo. Now Yehuda is not supposed to be benidui, right? It was a conditional nidui. If I don't bring him, I'm benidui. But if I do bring him, I'm as good as gold. And he brought Binyamin. Everyone was one big happy family at the end of the day. Shmos is the happy end of all history, right? And yet we see that Yehuda's nidui did take effect. What does it mean when it says by Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of his life, when he gave the brachos at V'zois bracha? What does it say? Yechir Reuven val Yomois. Reuven should live and not die. V'zois le Yehuda. And then he opens up Moshe Rabbeinu, and right after Reuven, he talks to Yehuda, and he started with V'zois Yehuda. V'zois Yehuda meaning, just like I told Reuven should be alive and not dead, meaning alive in Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba, so too Yehuda needs a special bracha not to be considered dead in Olam Haba. What does it mean? Meaning, we're going to see the details now, but basically the idea is as follows. Moshe Rabbeinu had to get Yehuda after his death. He had to get him out of Nidui because Yehuda made a conditional Nidui, and the condition was fulfilled. Here's Binyamin, here's Yaakov, all kissing each other, and yet we see that Yehuda was in Nidui his entire life, even the afterlife, even after his death, and that's when he's a special bracha for Moshe to get out of that Nidui. What does it mean? By the way, before we continue, Tosfos points out that Yehuda, that we don't always say this la'alocha. When Yehuda made that condition, I promise you I'll bring you Binyamin, otherwise it'll be Benidur. How do you know you can do it? Maybe the Egyptian won't allow, maybe Binyamin would die, maybe something would happen. Yehuda basically made a condition that's kivyochol illogical. I'm not saying this, the Ritva and Tosfos say it. And therefore, in such a case, you're menada yourself. You don't know if you can fulfill it. Mashen can, let's say I'm benidui because I'm eating Rabbanut and nobody else in town does, let's say. And in 1 second I say, yeah, if someone says, if you eat Rabbanut, then you're benidui. Very easily, you cannot eat Rabbanut, but that's. It's very, very easily fulfilled, right? In such a case, we don't need a Torah. So regular nidu in which the T'nai can be easily fulfilled, no, we don't need a Torah. Once you throw away all the Rabbanut stuff, okay, you're good to go. Mashenkin conditions that cannot be fulfilled necessarily, how do you know he'll bring you Binyamin? Why making such conditions? That kind of condition is illogical, kivyochol, so you're stuck with an idui, and the T'nai is not there. Like where? We saw it many times. Recently we saw it in Makkos, we saw it in Kiddushin. T'nai, Masna Mashkosa B'Torah. Rat Mekudeshes Li, Al Menas, there's no Oina. She's Mekudeshes, and he has to do aina, right? If the condition is not a good condition, then the fact is there, the maisa is there, and the condition is ignored. Here too, the nidu is nidui, and the condition is illogical. Therefore, Yehuda, his entire life and afterlife was benidui, because he made such a condition he couldn't fulfill. How does that come to life? Excuse the pun. Kol oisun mem shonosh yisrael b'midbar. When Bnei Yisrael were in the midbar, what did they carry with them from place to place? At least 12 coffins. Of who? Of the Shvatim. Of the Shvatim, right? They carried with them the Atzmois, Yosef, and the Atzmois of all the Shvatim. Atzmois of Yehuda Megulgolin Ba'oron. Everybody else had their skeleton, or maybe more, all intact. Yehuda, because of the nidui of him being considered a menude, his Atzmois, his bones were all over the place. They were all megulgal, all, excuse my language, all messy, disconnected, disjointed, disconnected, all over the place. Ad Sha'amad Moshe, until Moshe came here, Ubikishal of Rachamim. Moshe Rabbeinu asked Rachamim from Hashem, get Yehuda out of the Nidui, which expresses itself by this Bizoyan Amaze. What do you do to a Menude? Bizoyan. You belittle him on purpose. He deserves it. Yehuda was belittled by Hashem, that Hashem caused it, that his atzomas, his bones, should be disjointed. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu is here to plead on behalf of Yehuda. Amalefonov, Moshe asked Hashem, Ribono shel olam, mi goram leReuven sheyoyde. Again, we compare Reuven to Yehuda, as we saw now and as we saw a few days ago. Who caused Reuven to admit his sin with Bilhah? Reuven sinned with Bilhah, with his father's wife. Yehuda. Yehuda, what does it mean? Once Yehuda, Reuven did tshuva, says Tosfos, secretly. He did tshuva to himself, but he didn't advertise to the whole world, I've sinned, and that's why I'm doing tshuva. Who's the one who caused him to admit his sin to everybody? Who's that? Yehuda. Once Yehuda admitted with Tamar, very good, then Reuven said, wow, what a leader. He's not ashamed to admit that he had that story with Tamar, which is a very obscure story. I'm also moide. So now, you being so nice to Reuven, excuse me, Yehuda was the one who led Reuven. V'zois leYehuda. That's why he's saying V'zois leYehuda. Now, Shema Hashem called Yehuda, continues Moshe to daven, and says, Hashem, listen to the voice of Yehuda. What is, Al Evrei L'Shofar. Very good. Stage number one, Baruch Hashem, his evolim, his organs are all back to place. They all are joined nicely now. They're all being assembled. What? It's not Chias HaMesim. No.
Amazing.
He's
Because he gets the Chias Amazing.
right. It's the first stage. We'll see the other stage later. The entire body is basically like lahavdil, piece of furniture. Everything is assembled nicely now. However, he still has a long way to go. They did not accept him to yeshiva. Yeshiva Shalmala. It's not so easy to accept it to yeshiva. You know what you have to do to accept it to Panovich? A lot of things. It's very hard. So now they didn't accept him to yeshiva because he's benidui. In Shemaim, they don't accept that business. Davens Moshe. Now Moshe continues to daven. That's the continuation of the pasuk. Vel amoy tevienu. Bring him to his nation. Bring him and accept him to yeshiva. Hashem, please, Hashem, accept him to yeshiva with the rest of the nation, with his brothers. So he's accepted to yeshiva. Shkoyach. L'hava kayoda l'mishkal umitri b'shmaita. Yeah. In other words, Bahadi Rabbanon. He sat in yeshiva, but because of the nidui, Yehuda was sitting in yeshiva Shalmala, not knowing how to talk and learning with everybody else. Unbelievable. Because of that one sentence he told Yaakov, says Benidu in yeshiva Shalmala. He's accepted to Ponevish, Koyach accepted to yeshiva. He's sitting in yeshiva Shalmala. Everyone's talking and learning. He's sitting there like a lemele. So then Moshe continued to daven. Yodav Rav Loi. He should have Yodav Rav Loi. Yeah, he should have a koyach to fight. Yodav Rav. He should be able to fight the war of Torah. Should be able to talk and learning. To really have Rischad Oraisa, to shout and scream and learning like in a good yeshiva. Lo have Yodav Lifruki Kushya. But still, he didn't know how to answer questions. He knew how to talk in learning, but he wasn't at the highest level of the Talmidim. He didn't know how to answer questions which asked by him. People asking him questions, he didn't know how to answer them. So then Moshe continues to daven. The Ezer Mitzorov Tiyeh, he should help him from the Tzorim, help him from those who oppress him, those who ask him star questions. No, you know how to answer that question? Help him. He should be able to answer all the questions. So what do we see from now? We see from here that when a person is even self-nidui, he's also nidui. A person says, I will be benidui, he wants to make sure that he does something. Oh, why am I speaking Lashon Hara all the time? If I say Lashon Hara once more, I will be benidui. So that's a sakana. In such a case, maybe if you don't speak Lashon Hara, you won't be benidui because you can avoid Lashon Hara. But if the Tnai is not 100% fulfillable, it's not something feasible, be careful. Because Chas v'Shalom, the nidui can be there forever, like by Yehuda. Iboilu, we'll get to the Mishnah, and there'll be a much happier, friendlier guy once we get to the Mishnah. And then here are questions. Iboilu, back to the Kohanim Gdolim. So what did we say? How many Kohanim can? 3 or 4? Very nice. Kohen Meshuch Mishcha, Merubah B'Godim, Ova Mimshuch Husay, the one who was a sub for a while. And according to the second opinion, according to Rav Yehuda, we say Meshuch Milchomo, the one who's the chaplain. Now, Iboilu, B'misas Kulan Hu Choizer, or Dilma B'misas Echad Mehen. What happens if, let's say, you have 2 Kohanim around, you have the Kohen Gadol, and you have the ex-sub Kohen Gadol, the one who was a substitute and still maintains some kind of being a Kohen Gadol. As far as I remember, there's a Shali, he can't work now as a Kohen Hedyot. I think he's not supposed to work in Beis HaMikdash, because you don't bring him down to be a Kohen Hedyot again, but he can't be Kohen Gadol. Right, Malim Kodesh Ben Moridin, and therefore, now he's a kind of, emeritus Kohen Gadol. So there are 2 Kohanim Gdolim, the real one and the side one. Yeah, the vice Kohen Gadol. He's like his Sgan, he's not even his Sgan. Sgan is something else. No, I don't think so. V'misas echad mehen, I think so. So now, how many Kohanim have to die? Do we have to wait until, let's say, both of them die? Or maybe one of them is enough? That's a good question. Yeah, there are 2 Kohanim Gdolim practically now that can be called Kohen Gadol. Okay, 1 or 2. Do they both have to die? Or is it enough that one of them dies? Toshma says the Gemara in an attempt to answer. It says, Nigmar dinoi belo Kohen Gadol, eno yotze misham le'olam. Let's say that by the time of the Gmar Din, as I told you, and I'm going to see later, the Kohen Gadol, which we care about, which has to die for him to go free, is the Kohen Gadol who officiated at the time of Gmar Din. When Beis Din decided this guy is Rotzech B'Shoigeg and he better go to near Miklat, there was Chaf Hei Shvat Tafshin Tzadi, will be, yeah? And Chaf Hei Tafshin Tzadi was Mr. Kohen Gadol X, that's the Kohen Gadol. Let's say there was no Kohen Gadol then. Somehow, no Kohen Gadol was around. There was one day, they didn't nominate any Kohen Gadol, didn't appoint Kohen Gadol, no Kohen Gadol, then he can't go there, he can't go free, that's it. He has to stay there forever as a lifer. Yeah, he can't go out because there is no Kohen Gadol connected to his Gmar Din, yeah, to be able to die and free him. Ve'im Isa, but if so, if you say that really that one of them is enough, right? Lihada, then we should say lihada, yeah. There's the lihada with one of them, which means the Gemara assumes now that even if there's not one Kohen Gadol functions, lechoira, there should be another one. Let's say there are two Kohanim Gdolim, Yirmiyahu, Yishayahu. Let's say Yirmiyahu is the Kohen Gadol, he's sick, he's not functioning. Well, there's Yishayahu, right? What do you mean there is no Kohen Gadol? Well, he should go out in the death of the sub, not the main guy. But from the fact you see that there is no Kohen Gadol, must be that he has to go out with everyone dying, right? Must be that all of them has to die, and therefore he can't go out because you don't have all of them. And says the Gemara, no. Excuse me. Go back with the other ones. Even if Yirmiyahu is not there, there's no Kohen Gadol functioning. Well, why doesn't he go out with the other one? Elamai, must be one is not enough. You need all of them, and you don't have all of them. And it says, we're talking here about a situation where there is no Kohen Gadol whatsoever. No Kohen Gadol, no Sab, no Milchoma, no nothing. Then we say he can't go out. But if one of them is there around alive when the Gemar Din was there, could be that's good enough. Could be that it's good enough that one Kohen Gadol is there at the time of Din. That one Kohen Gadol dies, and everybody else didn't, and it's good enough for him to go out. The whole business of Gmar Din, that will be the next Mishnah, Be'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow. I'm more than ready to your questions now. I just want to say thank you to everybody in Torah Anytime on YouTube. Everybody who comes here, everybody, the whole Jewish nation should be saved, should be seeing Yeshua and the Chometz very, very soon. Hatzlocha uvrocha to everybody.